Hey everyone, welcome to Infinops Insights. We are the Infinops team, and we specialize in optimizing cloud expenses for various companies. On this channel, we share insights from our work, tips on optimizing your cloud, and our practices for working with cloud platforms. Today, as part of our FinOps 101 course, we're going to talk about strategies for cloud cost reduction. This is a crucial initial step in optimizing your cloud. It'll help you identify problem areas, set your optimization goals, and ultimately outline your optimization strategy. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and check out our LinkedIn and Facebook pages. There, we post brief updates on everything related to FinOps, including case studies from our work. Alright, let's get started. First off, let's talk about the root cause of the pain point, the fact that cloud expenses can often seem excessively high. Undoubtedly, the answer to this question depends on the level of awareness and the FinOps culture within each company. Some reasons can be attributed to human factors, such as carelessness and inattention, while others stem from more nuanced technical issues that require understanding and knowledge. Today, we'll try to cover both aspects. When we discuss reasons related to human error and negligence, we're definitely pointing first and foremost to a low level of FinOps culture. And if we look at the problem more broadly, we come to realize that a significant portion of companies do nothing to reduce expenses. In reality, significant savings can be achieved even on basic things. What basic things? There's a lot to mention, but let's focus on the most common cases from our practice. First, there's a low level of understanding of pricing. Companies may underestimate the cost of certain services or be unaware of more affordable tariffs available. Next, the most frequent issue is insufficient monitoring and analysis of expenses. Without continuous control over the use of cloud resources, it's difficult to identify which services are the most expensive and where savings can be made. This also includes the automatic activation of paid services as a specific case. Naturally, this includes the lack of a cost management strategy. If a company doesn't have a clear strategy for managing cloud technology expenses, it leads to uncontrolled resource spending and inefficient use of cloud capabilities. Following the previous point, rapid growth in the use of cloud services and changes in resource requirements, companies may not keep up with adapting their infrastructure and optimization strategies to new demands. And probably the most fundamental issue, which is hardest to tackle, is the lack of training, culture, and expertise. Here, we can provide a huge number of examples. Stopped using a resource but didn't delete it, picked the wrong capacities, used excess, etc. I want to share an example that shows how errors occur and lead to high expenses. Let's say you've deployed several EC2 instances for testing a new application. After the testing is concluded, these instances may remain active if they're not stopped or deleted. Even if they're not in use, you're still being charged for their operation. This is especially critical for instances with high specifications, as they are more expensive. But human error isn't the only reason for your excessive cloud expenses. Cloud platforms aren't perfect. They have numerous flaws and outright wrong decisions that unfortunately become apparent only after extended use. However, we work with what we have. So here are some technical reasons for high cloud costs. First, the most noticeable issue is the irrational use of machines over time. Broadly speaking, these are your expensive configurations. You might overpay if you choose a resource with a high-performance CPU, a large amount of memory, or specialized equipment, like GPUs, when your application doesn't require it. This also includes expensive S3 options. For example, using S3 standard for storing data that is rarely accessed instead of cheaper alternatives like S3 standard IA, infrequent access, or S3 one-zone IA. Additionally, there are incorrect instance types and improper traffic management. Data traffic in AWS can be costly, especially if data is transferred between different regions or exported to the internet. To make it clearer, let me provide some examples. Exporting data from AWS cloud infrastructure to the internet costs more than transferring data within the cloud. If your application frequently sends large volumes of data to internet users, this can increase your bills. Data transfer from S3 to an EC2 instance in a different region. If your EC2 instance in one region frequently access data stored in S3 in another region, this will lead to additional data transfer costs. Naturally, reasons for high expenses can also stem from the business itself. Anything can happen here. There are no clear-cut factors, but to give you an idea of what we mean by business factor-related reasons, let's name a few. Employee turnover. management of deprecated features, discontinued products/projects, customer churn, strategic misalignment, lack of proactive resource management, compliance and regulatory changes. Of course, it's important to consider all these reasons together, as one inevitably affects the others. Let's move on, and now we'll discuss methods for optimizing your cloud expenses. First off, let's talk about inventory and tagging. A significant portion of unnecessary expenses can be resolved simply by eliminating everything that's not needed. By implementing a tagging and monitoring system and removing extraneous resources, we can start to cut significant amounts. For this, all assets must be properly tagged, and each asset must have an assigned owner. Important files without an owner could, for example, be assigned to a product manager. This way, we identify who is using which resources and which resources are no longer in use. Such resources should be deleted. Additionally, there should be a tag indicating whether a resource can be deleted or not. The strategy for tagging is unique to each company, as there are a multitude of details to keep in mind to avoid causing harm. Tagging resources is very important and will ensure a high level of transparency and immediately eliminate unnecessary resources that no one claims. Typically, this alone saves about 40 to 60%, because without a well-functioning tagging system, garbage files accumulate over time and take up a lot of space. Develop clear internal policies for resource management, including procedures for creating, using, and deleting EC2 and RDS instances. Another method for optimizing your costs is choosing the right instance type. You'll have to choose from three main types: reserved, on-demand, and spot instances. To truly reduce your expenses, it's important to understand the differences between them. Here's what you need to know about reserved instances. Reserved instances require a commitment for a term of 1 to 3 years. You can pay the full amount up front, make a partial upfront payment, or choose a monthly payment plan, but with a commitment to use it for the entire contract term. They are ideal for applications with predictable usage because customers can know their expenses and the amount of resources they need in advance. If you have a production instance that won't go away or drop, or a database you need, which will be running over the next year, it makes sense to use a 3-year or 1-year plan. This option can also save up to 30%. However, once you purchase a reserved instance, changing its specifications is only possible to a limited extent. As for on-demand instances, discounts depend on the contract duration, the amount of upfront payment, and the region. On-demand instances require no long-term commitments or upfront payments. You pay for the actual computational resources used on an hourly or by the second rate. They are perfect for applications with unpredictable usage, short projects, experiments, or for those who do not want to commit to long-term commitments. However, the hourly usage rate for on-demand instances is usually higher than that of reserved instances. Finally, spot instances. Their availability is limited, and they are offered only when AWS or other providers have idle resources. And when they run out of free resources, they raise the price for that resource, and it works like an auction. Whoever pays more gets the resource. The most important thing for us is that the starting price at this auction is 33% of the price of a regular server. Yes, when using such resources, there is a chance that someone will pay more for these resources, and they will be taken away. But in practice, this means that once in a while, once every 2 months, for example, you might lose your server for an hour, and then it returns. And if you're willing to pay more than others, you will not experience any interruptions. You pay 3 times less than if you bought an on-demand machine. If used correctly and cautiously, this is also a way to save up to 67%. Next, perhaps the simplest thing you can do for optimization is to set a usage schedule for your virtual machine. If, out of 24 hours, you only use the machine during work hours, say 8 hours or even 12 hours, you're still saving 50% just by turning off the machine overnight. This is because, when working with AWS, there should be a special setup for the virtual machine to shut down when you're not using it. By default, it runs 24/7. However, like with other methods, this should be used with caution. Some machines should never be turned off. So here, too, the tagging system helps. Another simple truth: just optimize your capacities. You have a virtual machine, and you see that it's much more powerful than needed. If you notice that over the last 2 weeks the usage has never exceeded 30%, it's clear that your machine is 3 times more powerful than you actually need. So, you reduce its size. And here, we'll dive deeper into storage. Amazon Open Search Service offers capabilities for searching, analyzing, and visualizing data in real time. Data in OpenSearch is typically stored in two main types of storage: hot storage and ultra-warm. Your savings depend on the choice of storage and understanding its mechanics. Hot storage in OpenSearch is used for storing and analyzing data that requires quick access. For example, for real-time search or log analysis. Ultra-warm, on the other hand, is a more cost-effective way of storing data in OpenSearch. It's designed for data that is accessed less frequently but is still important and needs to be retained for long-term analysis. Ultra-warm uses a combination of memory and Amazon S3 to provide access to this data at a low storage cost. Let's say you have an application that generates a large volume of logs. These logs are initially very important for monitoring and debugging in real time, so they are stored in hot storage. However, as the data ages, such as logs from the previous month or year, they become less important for immediate access. Moving these older data to ultra-warm allows for their retention for long-term analysis at significantly lower costs. The savings in this example occur for several reasons. First, ultra-warm utilizes Amazon S3's cost-effective storage, which is significantly cheaper compared to using computational resources for hot storage. While access to data in S3 may be slower, this is acceptable for less frequently used data. Secondly, warm storage requires significant computational resources to support quick access to data, which increases the cost. By moving less active data to ultra-warm, you free up these expensive resources, thereby reducing overall infrastructure costs. Finally, ultra-warm optimizes memory usage by storing part of the data in memory for quick access and the majority in the cheaper S3. This balances cost and performance. And lastly, managing your traffic can also help reduce your expenses. Here are a few tips on how to do it. Place your data and computational resources in the same region to minimize inter-regional traffic costs. Don't forget to use data caching services, like Amazon CloudFront, to reduce the retransmission of data over the internet. Moreover, avoid unnecessary transfers of large data volumes. Consider the possibility of using services for efficient data transfer, such as AWS Direct Connect. That's all. Now you have an understanding of how exactly you can reduce your cloud expenses. We hope this video was helpful and will assist you in your cloud endeavors. Don't forget to subscribe to Infinops Insights to stay informed about efficient cloud resource management. Also, check out our LinkedIn and Facebook pages. There, we post a variety of content, from case studies from our work to in-depth reviews of cloud platforms. It'll definitely be worth your while. Share this video with your colleagues and partners. Hit the like button, and stay tuned for our upcoming videos. See you next time.